So this video is going to go over a bunch of details about William Afton that I never gone into depth about before in my previous videos. Now before I get into those details, I first want to mention that in no way is this timeline a conversation about timelines, where I talk about the ins and outs of everything regarding William Afton. This isn't really meant to be a timeline of William Afton within my story. I've reserved doing a proper timeline video in the very far future, like sometime after Volume 4. If I ever get around to doing that. Now, I know I'm not going to stop you guys from trying it. Fair enough. Do whatever you like. But to start this off, I will be going over some minor things that I never intended, or rather things I never considered necessary before. However, now may be the time for an appropriate answer. See, and this is for certain story-driven authors, there is something called unnecessary backstory. You might have heard of it, where you give a backstory of a character to the audience where one isn't required and does absolutely nothing for the story. Introducing every new character and then subsequently giving them a backstory on the spot or even at random times provides nothing unless it directly impacts or progresses the story in some form. You know, you get like introductions to characters, especially in games, like if you've ever played the Tales series or things of similar nature, like the Chronicle series, in this case Xenoblade. You're introduced to a character and they give you basically just from what they're either how they're introduced or the environment they're introduced in, you can kind of infer what they are. And then later down the line, as you're going through the story, you kind of understand who they are, what they are, what they were before, that sort of thing. And then the game kind of drops things more and more as you do like side quests or main missions, kind of gets revealed who they are. In the case of the second Xenoblade Chronicles character, like the Imperial side, like the Imperial captain, like you learn more about her after your initial fight with her and her, whatever they're called, I forget. You get what I'm saying. You'll remember there are a few examples where I use this. Back in Season 1, Glitchtrap causes memory and visual hallucinations of William's traumatic death. The reason being, he's in a place where he's the most hated. Remember, this is Season 1. Glitchtrap is trying to break down his mental barriers by reminding him of his past while also being attacked by others at the time. I think this is the first time, or rather the last time, first and last, that I used visual hallucinations that didn't result in a flashback sequence. I think that was the last time I ever did that, first time I ever did it. Now, there was another time I did a flashback showing William and the Phantom Puppet having a conversation. There was the puppet talk and the eventual realization that led to Glitchtrap's origin shows the puppet meeting Michael and later showing what really happened during that exchange. Like, you get the stuff in Season 1, right? And so in Season 1, like, they all showed up and the puppet was there as well. The nightmares and so on, they are all related to the current problem or issues. Of course, around the time of the episode Nightmares, the reintroduction of Glitchtrap in the form of memory trauma might have seemed random and diluted the fact that literally in a few previous episodes he was defeated, but then you get the most recent episodes with Lonely Glitchtrap talking more about it, and then the situation eventually accumulates into what you see in the last episode. Then you get more of an idea of how including that episode Nightmares is, so it's not so pointless. Basically what I'm trying to say is, before now, I've never needed to explain William's backstory aside from his past as one of the founders of Fazbear Entertainment and the usual you would expect from the character. When I say William's backstory, I'm obviously talking about his past before those events. So we're talking before Fredbear's family diner. The reason I never bothered explaining in detail before is because there's no reason, nor point in telling the audience how William was born, raised, or lived prior to the events that led to the story. There just isn't a reason. If you think about it from a certain perspective, all of that serves no purpose whatsoever. And the other reason, there's nothing to adapt from either. As you know, Scott himself never bothered to give William much of a backstory either. Like, sure, I get you could use the books as a form of narrative quotation for both Henry and William's lives, but they paint an entirely different picture in some cases, especially since we aren't talking about similarities that the books like the Tales of the Pizzaplex bring. We're talking about the original novels, the Silver Eyes, and books that at the time, and I still believe are, not consistent with the events of the games. Like, Tales of the Pizzaplex is a completely different scenario from the books like Silver Eyes, right? We got one that's going crazily similar to the games, and we have one that just shows events that completely never happened in the games whatsoever. Like, sorry, William never got dragged into a furnace. I think every single human being alive who's played FNAF, the games, would remember any hint of a detail recurring that occurred that happened like that, which it never did. And it's not even a case of like, we never see, no, we quite literally know that never happened. Ever. Like, ever. It never happened. Period. It didn't happen. Okay? So it's things like that. Like, that's a direct contradiction, down the line contradiction. It's not one of those woo, you know, maybe we can get around that and just throw it away and it's fine. No, that is a cut down the middle. You'd have to completely rearrange the Silver Eyes story entirely and remove that scenario from the mix from the get-go to make that work. And unfortunately, that's obviously not going to happen. So Silver Eyes just doesn't seem to be consistent with the games whatsoever. I know Matt Pat's like, in his, like, before he retired, he made some claims about how Silver Eyes could be stepping into the realm of the same sort of canonicity as what Tales of the Pizzaplex brings, but the books just, those two just don't line up either. Like, Tales of the Pizzaplex, almost for one, almost. There are differences, but Silver Eyes not so much. That's why I made that statement. But anyway, back to the point. Having said all that, it's not like I couldn't come up with my own reason why for his backstory. Like, if you really had to ask, why is William a good person in my story? The answer to that question, like, originally would have been like, it's not necessary to explain any of that. Like, what would that do for you? What would giving you that information change exactly? What would it change or progress what you already know, you know? And it's the same for the games. Like, why is William Afton so hell-bent on killing children? Why does he want to be immortal? Which is actually the answer to the previous question. Does he hate his kids, or does he love them? Like, what's the connection? Sorry, what's the idea there for William and his kids and the other kids? These answers on the surface might seem important, but overall, they don't mean anything to the current story being told to the viewer. I'd say that William wanting to be immortal and, like, having that be the answer for why he's killing kids, like, that's fine. Like, that's like an answer to the question, basically. But you have to ask yourself, okay, so we know he kills kids because he wants to be immortal, but why does he want to be immortal, you know? And then that leads to another question that's a branch off of the original two previous questions. Like, he kills kids to become immortal, but then why does he want to be immortal? Doesn't make sense, right? But, like, knowing that information does nothing, at least in the games. Like, in a book series, understanding why he wanted to be immortal, like, there's got to be a reason. There probably is a reason, it's just never said. I don't remember the books, so there probably is a reason. I don't remember. Okay. But yeah, like in the games, like, the story, like, reading between the lines, sure, I guess, but, like, in the realm of the games, knowing that information doesn't really, like, you understand his motives just from the first two lines. He's killing kids to become immortal. Knowing any more than that is, like, unless it's important somehow that we understand that this event made him want to be immortal. Like, if this event is impactful enough to matter, then tell us it. If it isn't, don't say anything. It doesn't mean anything, right? Tell us something that we want to know rather than something that we don't care about. Like, we want to know if Miss Afton is a real person and physically exists in the story. We want to know her name, and we probably want to know her role. Like, does she have any role at all? I think, and I hate to say this, I think that if Miss Afton had an importance in the story, her role would have been defined by now. And I think Miss Afton is a clear indication of what I'm saying. Scott is either hiding this detail on purpose, or he's concluded that including Miss Afton above the fact that she's included merely by the fact that kids exist, you know, William has kids and they weren't adopted, just by the inferent that the kids exist, we know that a mother exists, and that is all her role serves, because she doesn't have any other purpose aside from that, basically, right? He's doing what I've been saying. There's no reason to explain her existence because she has no importance. So there's no point in explaining her. Get it? So that answer to the question is not necessary to explain. It's probably nice to know, and given the fact that the next game with the Mimic might go as far back as the Diner's days directly instead of just seeing it in the eyes of the crying child. Given how old we're meant to believe that the Mimic is, then perhaps the answer will finally come, but as of this moment, matter is largely unimportant. Speaking of the Mimic though, there is something I wanted to discuss for a moment here. I had someone a while back, this is gonna turn into a rant, I feel like. I had someone try to call me out with the whole Glitchtrap thing. You all remember how people would always feel the need to tell us about how they aren't educated on the concept of alternate universes? That was me jabbing at them. And commented things like, William is Glitchtrap. You remember that? In fact, I still get comments like that on the reaction videos. And people don't understand what is being in, like, at face value. Like, I don't care that it's not canon, okay? I don't care. I have 8 hours. I have 8 hours, a full 8 hours of me playing Security Breach, and I did the Afton ending. You don't see me saying that he's not a killer, okay? He is absolutely a monster, okay? I get that in the canon. This isn't the games. Full stop. Get it? Right? Problem. The biggest problem with the I almost just said that. The biggest problem with the gacha FNAF community was this drama surrounding alternate universes where skits or actual stories that went the route that made William a good person who simply was possessed by Glitchtrap instead. It would be like the biggest issue for all of these canon obsessed people. Yet when the Mimic was first revealed, both in the books and later in the games, it's funny how fast those same people backtracked and switched to the other side. Now suddenly, you know, William isn't Glitchtrap. I mean, yeah, he's still a killer, but he isn't Glitchtrap anymore. Different person, different guy, different thing. Right? An AI. I think the greatest part about all of that, just like despite them doing it, is that they are still absolutely wrong. Who would have known? What do I mean? See, my story with William being possessed by Glitchtrap and the newest information being that the Mimic is Glitchtrap didn't age like shit at all. See, the original drama was that William is Glitchtrap, and the uneducated littered the comments of those alternate universes saying it wasn't canon. Gotta love that. Now, it's William isn't Glitchtrap, because Glitchtrap is the Mimic, right? The problem is, the fact that the Mimic could be Glitchtrap doesn't make what I've done age like shit. It's the exact opposite. You'll remember, if before people didn't like the fact that William was being dissociated with Glitchtrap because William was in fact Glitchtrap and Glitchtrap was in fact William in digital form, then now it's not the case anymore. William isn't Glitchtrap and Glitchtrap isn't William, and therefore it lends itself to those stories far better than it did before. You understand what I'm trying to say? Basically, anyone who made the stories that had William being possessed by Glitchtrap now makes more sense because the Mimic is Glitchtrap and not William. You understand? So, my story, including William being possessed by Glitchtrap, did not age like shit because the Mimic was revealed to be Glitchtrap. You get me? Again, comments like that really don't understand literally anything they are saying. Literally none. They are like 2-year-olds talking like they think they know everything. They don't know nothing. It's crazy. And even before all that, I'm sorry. I know I'm going off tangent here. But even before all that, before the mimic was a thing, they're just dumb. They're just straight dumb. I don't want to say the R word, but you know I'm gonna. In, like, the mind space, you understand. You're dumb if you think that this means anything. The story was never canon to begin with. Dude, I could be inside, I could be like a fetus and I would understand this, okay? That's right. I could be unborn. That sounded really dumb. I could be not alive and in my mother's stomach and I would know that, okay? Crazy how you would have to devolve, not understand that. Community is full of dumbasses. I'm sorry. I know I'm being mean, but again, I'm not a kid. I'm like 27, okay? You're just gonna have to deal with the fact that in this channel, there's someone who's not a child running the show, okay? And there's plenty of me that do that, right? Everyone knows the old animator, right? The old gacha animator. I'm not gonna say his name. You know who he is. The one who made the gacha animations a long time ago. He got outed for being, you know, that person. I'm sure he was like 25, probably. I don't remember. I know he was old. But again, that's not me. I'm not big enough to care about any of that shit. Animation's not really that kind of animation is just over my head. But I mean, it's crazy how someone that talented would ruin himself easily. Crazy what people do when they have all that fame in their head. But again, okay, if you're one of those people and you come and you're just randomly, I don't know, you're just perusing this video. If you're stupid enough to say that something that is obviously not canon is not canon, I don't know what you're doing, man. You got too much time on your hands. Too much time on your hands. Okay, it's like stating the obvious. Like, oh my god, I'm gonna go visit this video that I know is not canon based on its title and tell the owner of the channel that it's not canon. Isn't that a great idea? No one would have thought of that. And the owner, I'll be telling him something that he obviously already knows. Who would have known? Like, you have to be absolutely stupid. Okay? Anyway, moving on. Just had to say that. It's a minor gripe in the grand scheme of things. Point is, the mimic as Glitchtrap lends itself better to those who decided to separate Glitchtrap and William, because truth is, they were never really the same entity. Now, getting back on track with my earlier point, if I have to put in a reason why my William isn't a psycho, here's what I've written ages ago as a simple detail I meant to share within a conversation in the actual story. So like William would have talked about his past in an episode at some point. So here it is. This is your dose of William's past, and I know one of you, at least one of you, you know who you are. William went to college as a normal person, okay? No motives, began studying robotics and business. Essentially, anything that would be considered William of the games, like business guy, robotics guy, that kind of dude. That's what he went to college for. You know, business and robotics. I'm pretty sure those are actually two different things. I remember what business. I think it's just literally called business. Yeah, you're going into business. Yeah, there are. So William there meets Henry, and the two eventually become best friends. They graduate together and start a business in hopes to bring their genius to children, parents, and others alike. Yes, that's an inspired quote. They decide to make a pizzeria. Now, since in this story I've included Miss Afton, aka Clara Afton, in my story, Miss Afton existing as a key member of the Foundation for Remnant after her death. If you don't remember, I think I made a video in the past. If I didn't, here it is now. This is your daily dose of news for this story's timeline. Clara Afton is the main plot point for why Remnant in my story was able to be made, or at least the progress, the research that went into Remnant being created was highly possible because of her death and her corpse being used as a experiment. Okay, what I did, or what I'm going to do, is make it so that Clara has an amazing talent for making pizza. Okay, or rather, you could just say it's mother's cooking. This is my creative way of including Clara in the story. So like, we've seen this before, like a family has a family business, right? And it's a family business is basically they have their own recipe and then they include it in their business at the store. That's essentially what this is. You know, you have Henry and William covering pretty much everything else, and then she's, you know, the pizza maker. She's the one who had the recipe, so that's what she's doing. So I brought William and Henry together, and I gave Clara a more direct role in the story so that she would fit in later with the plot. That's the reason. That's why. So, you know, the added bonus of including these two families, William and Henry's being far more engaged with each other, right? So the pizzeria is much more family oriented. Like it was family oriented before, but now it's even more so and engages more so in those themes. They would have special events, birthday parties, and the like, which would encourage the idea of hosting customers' birthdays as well as and so on, just like you would know from the normal games. I'm basically trying to give a order of events. Like they make the business, right? They start up the diner. And those two families, Henry's and Williams, would occasionally have private birthdays on off days at the pizzeria. And that enables them, that gives them the idea that maybe we should host customers and have them have their birthdays here. And that's how it leads to that. And then they update their, their mandate, and they create different scenarios like special events, birthdays. So it's not just something that existed from the moment the store or the restaurant existed. It's something that kind of progressed into existence based on what they were doing already, because they were two families engaged with each other. Okay? That's it. That's literally your history lesson for today on the timeline of William's backstory. Now, here's the thing, right? Having said all that, that's great. Great, we learned that. That's awesome. But now you have to take away your bias and think, what did that do? What did that exactly change? Nothing. In my opinion, it would have changed nothing. Like, this is explaining, like, the most important thing there was probably Clara's thing. That was the most important thing there, because, like, why was Clara even considered an experiment for, possessed William when he was experimenting to create Raymond? Like, why was she a thing? Like, there you go. And again, I didn't explain how she died. You don't really have to know that. Let me just, I guess, she couldn't control the wheel behind the car. Or sorry, Anyway, I'm already going into too much detail about this when I'll leave more of this information for a timeline video in the future, okay? Just know that William's good heart is a byproduct of his upbringing and past action. Sure, that's how any person is shaped, but don't think the full bucket list is going to be thrown at you. There's no point in telling you about William's supposed parents or supposed childhood. It's pretty irrelevant information, and the only reason it's irrelevant is, get this, because it's not important. Remember, if you have to do a flashback or detail a character's backstory, it should be at the time where it makes the most sense, because it should introduce something about the present or progress something forward either in the story or in the eyes of the audience. This is directed at you. You know who you are. Get ready. The best example of storytelling for a character's backstory, honestly, is probably One Piece. Okay? Maybe you don't like One Piece. Maybe you hate it. Okay? But One Piece is honestly, for as many faults that it has, and it has many, does remain pretty consistent with how it chooses to tell a person's motives, goals, dreams, and dreams and goals are like the biggest thing in that entire story. If you've ever made a story that introduces flashbacks, or if you ever, it doesn't have to be flashbacks. If you ever had a story that introduces, like you're introducing a character, and your first thought is to just immediately dump every piece of information on a person, like the audience reader, like you're doing too much, right? When you're introducing a character, you're introducing them based on how they're introduced, like what's happening. Like, John Doe is in a war, and he's being led by his general to his squad, and that squad gets introduced to their new captain, John Doe, and then he introduces like these characters. Do you just have every character dump all their backstories onto him, saying like, man, this war, these people, man, they killed my parents, like they just drop all this information? Like, you don't do that from like as soon as you introduce them. These are things that you reveal later when you try to get John Doe to progress and develop with his squad. You don't just be like, John Doe gets introduced to a squad, and then, you know, Mary says her parents got killed by the invaders just right off the bat. Like, there are cases where that is a thing, and that's probably because it's introduced in such a way where introducing it right from the get-go makes sense. Then you don't have all 12 dudes, girls alike, saying it over and over, like, for each of them, right? Like, it's not like that. That's not realistic. The person doesn't just reveal everything about them from the get-go. It never happens. And when it does, there are exceptions, and those exceptions are very little. Anyway, the talk about that is over. We're now moving on to the next section here. What I'm about to discuss is something I genuinely never expected to address, okay? But I suppose, given what we've talked about already, this sort of topic is inevitable at this point. So today, now, we will be focusing on William's feats, his strengths and weaknesses. You can interpret this however you like, but let's set the record straight right now, okay? Right now, because I know I have seen people interpreting his strength, and I don't think you really get it. So let's talk about it. First, I need to clarify that this analysis takes place in an alternate universe. You got that? Good. Because I don't want any citations from other universes. This one operates under its own rules. I apologize if that sounded passive-aggressive, but I needed to make that clear up front. Now, let's dive into the core discussion, starting with one of William's most notable feats during Glitchtrap's origins. In this scene, William causes a floor to collapse by slamming Michael into it. There are multiple variables at play here. The first and most important detail is that William's feats are directly reinforced by Glitchtrap's influence. Whether Glitchtrap realizes it or not, his presence enhances William's strength, speed, durability, and other capabilities. While this plot may seem a little flimsy, it serves as a foundation for my argument. Now, whether you try to understand why Glitchtrap is making all of William be stronger than he is for another conversation into the supernatural that I am not going to get into here. You just have to take this at face value. I am telling you, I am telling you, Glitchtrap's influence does things to the user that he is possessing. Or sorry, if this is not a game, the person that he is possessing. So, William's strength fluctuates throughout the series. I say fluctuates not in it just goes off in weird directions for random reasons, and that's just how it is for plot convenience. So they say plot convenience. I've heard this word used by a person. You don't know what you're talking about. Allow me to explain. William's strength fluctuates throughout the series, and there is a reason for that. The same video I just referenced earlier shows William utilizing Glitchtrap's power to teleport a knife into his hand. However, this raises a question. How does this apply to William before he was burned? Once William gets burned, both he and Glitchtrap become significantly weaker. This is central to what happens in part 2. Glitchtrap is only defeated because the fire weakens him. I say weakens him, but it weakens their soul, and he is ultimately overwhelmed when others arrive to finish the job. Yet, Springtrap, despite being burned, is still capable of the feats like the one I just described. How do I explain this discrepancy? The answer is that burnt Springtrap isn't fully weakened yet. Okay, this sounds pretty weak. Like, okay. Okay. Like, I get what you're thinking. Like, sure, the fire dealt a significant damage to him, but the full consequences haven't taken effect at this stage. Think of it as William's rage, final charge before his condition deteriorates further. You gotta think of flight or flight, or adrenaline, or generally just all these types of things. When you're in a fight with someone and you're experiencing high adrenaline and high flight or flight, you generally won't, your body is producing, your body is doing something where it is creating its own, it's numbing your own, it's like numbing pain. It's nulling your own pains. You don't feel it until the adrenaline starts dying off. Then it hits you. Then you realize, shit, I'm bruised, I'm beaten, that kind of thing. You don't, like, that's a real thing, by the way. Like, obviously it depends, like, how much adrenaline is going through you, that kind of thing. But if you're experiencing like extreme adrenaline, certain things will just be counteracted. Like, being stabbed could easily, like, you won't even notice in certain cases. Like, that's a real thing. And the initial pain of the stabbing won't come back to you until that adrenaline starts to fade. Okay, it's the same case here. Obviously William isn't alive, right? He's dead, so he wouldn't have this chemical reaction with certain things. But when it comes to William's rage, it's like he becomes like an animal. He doesn't think about anything, he just does. So his soul, having taken a hit, doesn't register with him initially, because you got to remember, the context matters. Everything about how something is built in matters. What happened right before he got burned? What is happening right now in that scene? Michael's possessed, Elizabeth's there. You think he's just gonna cave in? A father, two of his children, he's just gonna let himself die and rot away after getting hit with, like, sure. You think he's just gonna sit there and take it? No. His eyes are already red. He ain't gonna take it, man. He isn't going to let digital Glitchtrap get away with doing what he's doing. So yes, he is going to fight like his life depended on it, and that's what he did. Okay? So it's the case of characters proving themselves to be stronger than they actually are, and we've seen this in multiple mediums. People don't generally understand this about, like, things like, say, like Dragon Ball, for instance. Like, you remember how Trunks used to think, like, Trunks actively thought he was stronger than his father during the Cell Saga. When Cell went perfect for the first time, Trunks actively believed that, or even before that, when Cell was in his in imperfect form, his second form, Trunks still thought he was stronger than his father the whole time. But he was never stronger than his father, not a single time. Yes, he can produce more power than Vegeta did, and even Perfect Cell. Like, Trunks had more power than even Perfect Cell. If you take it at face value, then yeah. But we saw how that happened, right? Like, if you're using the same, if you're going to use the same logic here, like William, like, if you take things like at the face value that you see him in the story without taking any of the context, then yeah, Trunks would have raffle stomped Perfect Cell, he would have raffle stomped his own father, that sort of thing. But that's not the case. Perfect Cell is still stomping Trunks and Vegeta in the same form that he used to fight Perfect Cell, and Imperfect Cell would still stomp Trunks. Why? Why would even Vegeta Vegeta didn't go the full route. Like, it's explained in the story. It's explained in the episodes that Vegeta did know how to do what Trunks did. So theoretically, technically, Trunks wasn't stronger than Vegeta, but Vegeta didn't do that because he knew the downsides that form brought. I think it was grade 3 or grade 4 brought to the table. Just too slow. Like, yeah, you have all that power, but it means nothing when you can't hit your target, right? Vegeta, in the form that he used to fight Imperfect Cell and used Final Flash against Cell, would have beaten Trunks in grade 3 or grade 4 easily. Wouldn't even been able to touch him. So again, Trunks having all that power means absolutely nothing. So when William is burned, despite the fact that he would have gotten weaker, and he is progressively getting weaker as time goes on, he was strong enough and in his right mind enough, but he didn't want Glitchtrap to win, to deal with the outcome and do all the things he did. Not to mention what I'm about to explain next, that is going to write off all of the problems I just described, because William is not the sole factor for why the ground collapsed, okay? Additional factors play a role, guys. The building itself is decaying, rotting, and not structurally sound. During William's final exchange with possessed Michael, the floor collapses due to a combination of these variables. It's not solely William's strength, but a convergence of factors that led to the collapse. All right, so you have a really big animatronic with a possessed undead dude fighting, and then he slams him into the ground, and the ground can no longer contain all of this weight. Its structure is now completely shred, and now it falls. Okay? I've always taken the decaying building plot device seriously, okay? Even carrying it forward to the frenemy episode. For instance, when Michael and Elizabeth are on stage, part of it collapses. Not because Michael lost his footing, but due to the excessive weight and structural damage sustained over time. You guys remember. If you've forgotten, here's a scene where the structure of that area would have been absolutely compromised, which is the cause for the result in frenemy. The cause being absolutely getting slammed into the stage here. Cassidy leads to the events of frenemy, Michael falling through the floor. So no, it is not a plot convenience or a plot device that just is conveniently explained by me to explain a weaker William dealing bigger damage than a weaker William should have done at the time. Okay? You get all that? Good. Like I said, context matters, man. You gotta look at the environment, okay? It's important sometimes. But I guess now we have to explain the next, a rabbit in the room. But before that, to clarify, William's feats are not entirely his own. They are a result of multiple factors or variables aligning in his favor, with William merely acting as the catalyst for events that were already in motion. If you think about it, he was the catalyst for both events, because without William being possessed by Glitchtrap, you wouldn't have Cassidy being slammed into the stage, and if William never slammed Michael into the floor wouldn't have collapsed there. But the thing is, the floor would have collapsed at some point anyway. I had this idea for a while, and I only decided to utilize it in that episode. I probably would have utilized it in a later episode, if not at that time. So, it's whatever. But now, let's move on to William's initial encounter with Vanny, the very human bunny in a suit. How is she able to cut off William's arm so easily? When writing that scene, I considered, again, several factors to justify William's vulnerability. The key factor is the accumulation of pain and exhaustion he has endured up until this point. This is extremely important. But how a character is in their right mind, or how they're perceiving themselves at any given time, is extremely important to how a character is able to combat certain conflicts. Okay? Motivation, confidence, these things are important to dealing with enemies and and all that other stuff. Okay? You guys ever watch Yu-Yu Hakusho? I think I butchered that name. Yu-Yu Hakusho. Yu-Yu Hakusho. I can't remember the name. I'm butchering the name. In that story, there is a main character. He dies by saving someone. People know him as a delinquent. He dies by saving someone from a car, and then he meets these reapers, basically Shinigamis, and then he comes back by doing good deeds as a ghost. Right? He resurrects, and as he goes on, story kind of progresses. He gets stronger and stronger, and then he trains, and he reaches a point where he's in the demon realm, and he's in a tournament in the demon realm, and he doesn't understand. He's going through an internal conflict, and at some point he finally lets go of that internal conflict later down the line, and he finally lets all of his power out. He finally does something, and he completely raffle stomps what would have been the antagonist of that arc at the time. Some guy who was, based on everyone there, was insurmountable. No one could fight him, and he takes care of him not that hard. Just deals with him. It's stuff like that I'm trying to talk about. This guy, the main character, had the power to do all this when he reached the tournament. Since he had the power to do all that, but he struggled immensely. Not immensely. He struggled, even so, with all the training he had up until that point. With this guy, he struggled, and even the antagonist, the guy that's fighting him, was disappointed. He thought he would be stronger than this, and he just said, screw it, I'm just gonna deal with you. If you're not as strong as I thought you were gonna be, I'm just gonna deal with everyone. Nothing matters. And eventually the main character realizes that he's stronger than he could be. It's stuff like that. context matters. It's not that the main character was weak, it's that he was having his own internal struggles and he couldn't manifest what he should have been manifesting from the get-go, right? So we have William here in the worst possible state. Like, you guys have to remember what I just said. So William's physical pain compounded by the loss of his child. Remember, Chris is taken. The damage from being burned alive leaves him in a severely weakened state, right? So now the damage to his soul is now becoming a problem and is now being a part of his vulnerability. On top of that, he's lost the influence of Glitchtrap. So all of those little extra perks I told you about, they're not there anymore. They're gone. Which once bolsters abilities, remember. While traces of Glitchtrap do remain, they are so sparse that they're akin to dust in the wind. So, meanwhile, Vanny, instructed by Digital Glitchtrap to be wary of William, is fully prepared. She exploits her knowledge of robotics and weak points, making it easier for her to sever his arm during the confrontation. This leads to the next question, okay? How does post-burnt Springtrap manage to fight multiple animatronics as seen in Springtrap vs. Everyone? This is probably the most damning one, I guess, because, like, having said all of the things I just said, like, William not being able to deal with Vanny. Again, what did I just say right before I talked about Vanny and William? The thing with the Yo-Yo Hakusho one, right? What did I just explain? I'll put it into words for you, okay? If you think that William should have been and could have been able to deal with Vanny, you would be right. If William was a sociopath who didn't give a shit about anything, didn't give a shit about his pain or his kids or anything, Vanny would be nothing. She would have died right there. But that's not who he is, okay? He's not a sociopath. So none of the benefits that come with being emotionless are a part of him. So he didn't deal with Vanny. Here we are, Springtrap vs. Everyone. William doesn't have the luxury of being emotional because he's being possessed by Glitchtrap. And he doesn't even have a choice. He is being possessed and controlled by Glitchtrap, which means the true title of that episode should have been Possessed Springtrap vs. Everyone. The explanation isn't that it's truly William fighting. It is Digital Glitchtrap fighting with William's animatronic body, pushing him to his limits. This is why Glitchtrap appears satisfied at the end of the episode, because he's finally gotten rid of William, while doing significant damage to the animatronics. I mean, if you remember at the end of that episode, they all get possessed. Again, the context matters. The reason Springtrap is able to deal with everyone in that episode is because it's what William would have been able to do at the time. The reason is, it's like William was dying, right? So he didn't want to make things harder on himself by pushing himself. And who would, right? Like, if you knew you were dying, right? And your soul was being slowly extinguished, you wouldn't be trying to push yourself further to death. You would be trying to limit yourself from doing that, to stay around longer. You wouldn't be trying to kill yourself faster by pushing yourself and burning yourself like you were before the fire. You would be trying to limit that. Now, even still, William was trying to push himself slightly, right? He was trying to find ways of fixing it, but he couldn't make the decision. And if you think about it, in the episode where he gets possessed, it is because of his indecision that led to his possession. In an alternate setting, let's say William accepted Lonely Glitchtrap's proposal, right? And he allowed the possession to take place. I say possession, but he allowed Lonely Glitchtrap to enter his body, his mind, his animatronic body, and merge with William's soul. When he came face to face with Digital Glitchtrap, it would have been a completely different scenario. Digital Glitchtrap would not have been able to possess William, and he would have been completely vulnerable. Chris would have been back in his arms instantly, because Lonely Glitchtrap would have dealt with the possession right there. And you know what's crazy? So would Vanny. Digital Glitchtrap would have been screwed heavily, because then Glitch probably would have dealt with Vanny's possession as well. Vanny is not completely willing. It's an interesting concept to understand. we know that she's an unwilling volunteer, but you have to think about it. How much of Glitchtrap's influence is making her willing to side with him, that it appears that she's unwilling, right? Like, it's almost like it's a realistic interpretation. So he's manipulating her just enough to make it seem like her actions are her own. Again, I'm not going to go into the what ifs of the game scenarios, but anyway, her possession can be dealt with by Glitch 2. I mean, it's really no different. So, right, as I was saying, context matters, okay? Talking about its strengths, it's like everyone takes things at face value all the time, every time. It's like the same case with, like, if you ever watch, if you're a fan of One Piece, right? People probably, like, they look at the Luffy versus the rematch with Lucy, right? From the Egghead. They look at that fight. This is spoilers, by the way. If you haven't seen Egghead, I'm very sorry. Don't listen to this, okay? In that fight, there are people who are like, what is, so Lucy's like a emperor level now because he's keeping up with Gear 5 Luffy? Like, what? No, if you're taking it at face value, that's what it looks like, right? Like, it looks like Lucy is keeping up with Gear 5 Luffy, but like, you have to be completely brain dead not to see it. If you're one of those people that thinks that Lucy or that Luffy is being plot convenience to deal to being like nerfed in the fight with Lucy, take a look at that fight one more time. Go back, watch that fight one more time. Look at what's happening. Tell me, when Lucy and Luffy first fought, what happened? It was a pretty equal fight. Well, it was one-sided. Lucy was basically upperhanding him, and then he went Gear 2, and it was kind of an equal fight. But, like, because of the nature of Gear 2, it was putting more of a strain on his body, so he wasn't able to keep up with Lucy eventually. And now look at the fight now. Look at the rematch. Tell me something. What's not happening in that fight? I can tell you for sure that Luffy is clowning on him. Okay? This is something that I'm not sure why no one's noticed, but Lucy never gets a hit on Luffy ever that means anything. Like, he does brush him away. Like, there's certain times where it looks like Lucy landed a hit, right? Where it looks like he landed a hit, but it didn't do anything. And there's a perfectly good reason why this is shown in the anime. Go back if we're gonna use this as like a feat calculator, right? Go back to when Luffy fought Kaido. The first ever time. So, based on the logic that people use against Lucy versus Luffy, right? Like, obviously I can't say that Lucy never hit Luffy. There is like probably like 2 times during the very, very fast framed like shots where it seems like Lucy does get a few hits off, and like he gets smacked, like Luffy gets smacked into a building, but like then nothing happens. It just feels like he's just like, it literally felt like Luffy didn't even feel it. It was just him being the force of the impact like threw him away. What I'm trying to say is Luffy is in such a weird state where like he's really light on his feet, and so whenever Lucy hits him, like, the force of the impact does no damage, but there's still energy, right? Like, we're talking basic science here. Like, he's in midair, he's in midair, okay? And he's being hit by something, and it's sending him off. It's just basic science, basic physics. Like, the energy of the impact is sending him flying. That doesn't mean it's doing any damage. It clearly didn't, because Luffy didn't even fucking react to it. Sorry, I said it. I finally said it. It's no longer a family-friendly channel anymore. Again, alright? Take a look at Kaido versus Luffy, if we're going to be using the same logic. If we use the same logic with Luffy and Lucy, then that means Kaido should be getting raffle stomped by Luffy based on the fact that he got hammered by Gear 4 Luffy and a elephant gun straight to the face. But guess what? It did nothing to Kaido. In that entire first sequence, their first ever battle when he was in dragon form, drunk dragon form, by the way, and he got hit by elephant gun, slammed into the ground, got like drunk and knocked out. Then he woke up as his normal self, and then Luffy went like full Gear 4 on him and hit him directly in the chest multiple times, and then he got one shot by Kaido. That entire time that Luffy was hitting him, he received 0 damage. He took none. Not a single thing did a single piece of damage to Kaido that time. Kaido didn't even feel it. In fact, I'm pretty sure it pissed him off because it made him sober, and that's why he hit him with his mace. That's the same situation with Luffy and Lucy. Those hits did nothing to Luffy. And the funny thing is that throughout the entire fight, when do you see Lucy ever land a hit that actually made anything? Actually, half the time, Luffy is dodging him, right? Dodging him half the time. So context matters. The people who think that Lucy is Emperor level because he was handling Gear 5 Luffy are just stupid. They don't understand what even when something is directly shown in front of their eyes, they're just stupid. Luffy became Kaido and Lucy became Luffy. That's what that situation is representing. It is telling you, it is showing you the difference between what Luffy, like, it's showing you the development of Luffy right there. That's what it's saying. That is what the information hidden in between the lines. Like, not being able to comprehend what you are seeing is it's like you need these types of skills to understand certain information being shown to you. Luffy, if he really, really cared to defeat Lucy, would have one-shot him right there. Instantaneously. He would have destroyed Lucy in 2 seconds. Want to know why? If you've read the manga, you know. If Gear 5 Luffy cannot deal with Lucy, then how is he dealing with admirals like Huzuru and Saturn together later on? Spoiler, okay? Trust me. Lucy, not dealing with Luffy, okay? And that's why context matters, right? William... Okay, sorry, I like going off on tangents. Hey, man, you can actually physically see my ADHD kicking in. Going off on a tangent, like we're talking about One Piece, and it's a FNAF video. It's crazy, but I mean, we're talking about something stupid like feats. I hate talking about strengths and weaknesses. It's always such a dumb thing to talk about. And I'm sorry for people who do get into these conversations. But, like, I think this video, like, talking about William's feats in this video, I think I'm fine. Like, putting it... I'm setting the record. Like, you might have... Like, there might be some issues that I've said, like, and you're probably going to have conflicts. Like, oh, well, I can't wait to type in the comments about how certain things just don't make sense with what you said type of thing. But, like, I get that. Do what you have to, right? And maybe one of those questions is, like, one of these. So, let's address the hierarchy of glitchtraps, since I know some of you have probably gotten curious as to which one is considered the best. Answering this question requires a lot of explaining, so pay attention. I'm not very good at explaining anything, but if we start from the very beginning, we have regular William from before the deaths of any of his children. William as a base here is necessary because if you've already forgotten, the 3 glitchtraps are still William, just separated and driven by different emotional states that were amplified by Remnant, William's soul, and Agony, his emotions. William, to start with, is an average human being, nothing special about him except for his talent in robotics. So, something to note, you could include his expertise in creating Remnant, but that's not true. William was experimenting with the possibility of creating Remnant after Elizabeth's death, and Baby's odd behavior mimicking his daughter's voice and mannerisms toward him, but he never got to achieve the goal because of his near-death experience. The only reason Remnant is referenced in relation to Glitchtrap's creation is because at the core of what Remnant is the soul of an individual. And in this case, that individual is William, and the Remnant is soul. It's an alternate outcome to Remnant, but it still fits the description for what Remnant is. So instead of like creating Remnant soul metal, it's the actual soul itself being used in place of Remnant, if you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, moving on. After William becomes possessed William, this is William after he wakes up from his coma that was the result of the explosion that killed him. Possessed William, contrary to how he's described in the flashbacks in Lonely Glitchtrap, is not that powerful. Remember, this William is still alive. He isn't Springtrap. He's flesh and blood, but is possessed by the original Glitchtrap. The difference here is that William barely gets time to come in from his accident from Glitchtrap before Glitchtrap rips his control and takes over completely. Not until his subsequent accident inside Spring Bonnie that is known as the Spring Lock failure. You have all that? Good. Let's explain the other two. We learn from Lonely Glitchtrap that Digital Glitchtrap, known as Digital at the time, not known as Digital Glitchtrap at the time, understood that his talents lay in technology in some form, or at the very least. It's what he's come to learn how to do, since Glitch learns the same things much later. Digital Glitchtrap resides in this space until he is scanned into the systems for help wanted, which occurs much later in the timeline, so for the time being, any and all talents are isolated in the space and aren't important. Now for Lonely Glitchtrap, aka Glitch. Glitch, at the time of Glitchtrap's and Digital Glitchtrap's scheming, didn't care about what he was capable of at the time, so it's a similar situation. It's not important to explain any further in the timeline. Now let's jump ahead in the timeline here, okay? So now we have William, now Springtrap, trapped inside a wall alongside Glitchtrap's constant attempts at breaking his mind and turning him into a mindless monster. For the most part, William doesn't succumb to the attempts for the entirety of those 29 years, but breaks as soon as FNAF 3's Fazbear Frights opens and sets him free, okay? This leads to William, under the guise of Springtrap, broken by Glitchtrap, to murder security guards for the next year. The incident gets suppressed by Henry and later ends with Michael burning the place down, but it doesn't work. So now we have Springtrap with Glitchtrap inside, but not possessed. This is important since Springtrap never has purple eyes during his murder spree during Fazbear Frights events. Springtrap's feats are basically what you see in the games taken at face value. Now, if you take them at face value, you might as well give him teleportation, but no, I'm not giving him teleportation. At face value, Springtrap is very fast, very strong, and very big, and very murderous. His only apparent weakness is sound distractions caused by the malfunctioning Spring Bonnie suit. This forces his programming to go towards the noise and not the security desk, where Springtrap, still broken by Glitchtrap, knows the guard is at. Now, we do have to talk about Digital Glitchtrap, not so much Lonely, since he still isn't important by this time in the story. Digital Glitchtrap's strengths now include the events of Help Wanted, since it should be at this time that he's scanned into the systems for that game's creation, and with that, his schemes begin to count down to the Pizzaplex's opening, which happens around the time of Fazbear Frights timeline. Now, jumping even further ahead, we now get the start of our story's introduction. We have William with Glitchtrap inside his head, Digital Glitchtrap, and Lonely Glitchtrap all existing at the same time, but some more than others. So, sadly again, at this point in the story, Lonely Glitchtrap is not active, so he will not be included in this ranking at the moment. Just to be a reminder here, we are now at the start of Season 1. So, the first stage is now set. Who is better between William with Glitchtrap and Digital Glitchtrap? Answer: William with Glitchtrap. For as crazy as Digital can get, the original Glitchtrap hard counters literally anything he could do. And I don't know if you're aware, but Digital Glitchtrap's major strength is possessing people and animatronics. So if you take that away, a massive portion of his strength is just dusted. And he's left with his only option, which is to use other people to do his work for him, since he can't directly intervene with William because of Glitchtrap. Remember, this is like, who would have, like, in a direct confrontation, who would fight? Since Digital Glitchtrap can't do that because of the existence of the OG one, he would have to fight with other people other than himself to do the same thing he would have done by himself. So, again, and don't get it twisted, since I've yet to explain this other detail. But why would the original Glitchtrap prevent Digital Glitchtrap from doing anything to William if they were on board with each other in the past? Because that's the past, and based on the events of Glitchtrap's origins and frenemy, original Glitchtrap's focus began to shift much later. Now, if you were to include Glitch in this for whatever reason, let's say Glitch as he is in Season 1, with no extra additions from the latest episodes, where would he stand exactly? He would stand right underneath the original. Okay? Like, remember, we're talking season 1 across them, all 3 of them. It would still go to original Glitchtrap. The original is just built different, man. And it would have continued that way if not for the fire. Now, again, let's jump ahead one more time. Now, we're jumping from season 1 to season 3. Okay? But obviously now by this point, OG original Glitchtrap is no longer a part of the picture, right? So now it's reversed on its head. Now we have glitch versus digital. But for the sake of this specific scenario, we're just going to include peak original Glitchtrap with William season 1 and 2. Okay? Which combination is considered the strongest from a lore standpoint? If we go based on feats shown directly in the episode I provided, then the victor would actually go to digital because he's shown the most feats out of any of them. If we're using episodes as a direct quotation here. Since it's through him that William is able to fight all of the animatronics like Bonnie, Freddy, Chica, and Foxy so easily. But if we've gone based on what I've said, okay, and you understand the context of past and the future, then the victor goes to glitch with William. The ranking changes to William with Lonely Glitchtrap when the original was my thoughts are all over the place. Alright, so since Glitch at this point has absorbed and merged with William, he contains far more than the others would have. Like, this scenario is basically like season 1 and 2 original Glitchtrap with William versus season 3 Glitch with William merged and digital Glitchtrap when he was in possession of William. Like that's the fight. Right? That's why I said at a lore standpoint, the victor would probably go to, like, if you were to use like what you've seen on screen, like lore wise, that's probably not the right word. Like if you go based on what you've seen in the episodes, then the victor would go to the feats would go to digital because he's the one who's shown the most. Right? Like, yeah, you get like season 1s and then part of season 2. Like you see Glitchtrap fighting with William. Okay, I get that. I mean, it's not enough. You see digital fight with like all 4 of the members of the FNAF crew. Like, so you can understand, like, that would be feat wise, that'd be better, right? But if you go based on what I've said, based on lore, right? Because now I'm swapping it. I've changed the label. So lore wise, it's like past, present, future of all the characters. Then it goes to glitch because. Okay, this is a spoiler, and I think it's best to explain this now, and I need you guys to understand this. Do not expect an Avenger level fight with digital at the end. I hate to say it, but glitch is just supremely better. Right? I don't want you to be disappointed with the conclusion. This isn't going to be like it was with OG William and digital. All right, in the head or anything. Actually, it'll probably be more consistent with how it was with glitch and digital. It's gonna be completely one-sided, right? It's just the battle is not Williams. Okay, this is something important. The way that Volume 4 is gonna be structured, I don't have a problem explaining this. Okay, Volume 4, the way I have it written in my head is that it's for the most part, it's going to be a group effort. In that group effort, that widespread scheming and tactical strategy that they have planned for dealing with digital Glitchtrap is the fight with digital Glitchtrap. And the climax will be the confrontation with William with Glitch and digital Glitchtrap. But there's not going to be some craziness, okay? The craziness is everything you see before that point. When you reach that state, when you see them interacting with each other directly inside of his own territory, his own digital technology territory, that's when you know that Volume 4 is reaching its climax, okay? I don't, like, that's not a spoiler, because, like, that's something you already know what's coming. Like, you know they're going to be confronting each other at some point in that space, like, you know it. I've shown you the space before. I don't see it as a spoiler, so it's whatever, okay? So, now that with all of that out of the way, I guess the next question is, can William fight the Glam Rocks? I won't say anything, but let's also tackle the elephant in the room. Why am I discussing all this while sitting on the main menu for Gacha Nebula? Recently I got suggested to check out Nebula, and by recent I mean months ago. After exploring it, I can confirm it offers more features and customization options than Gacha Club. However, it does not solve the fundamental problem I mentioned in my last video. Nebula would still require me to green screen hundreds, if not thousands, of poses, so while it is an improvement, it's not enough to address my concerns. You gotta remember, like, Nebula, yeah, it adds all these new, like, clothing options and accessory options and utility options and stuff like that, and even changes some of the layout of those utility options. I actually spent a little bit of time trying to navigate the maze that is Nebula. Not that much time, it took me like 10 minutes. And then all of that is great, but it doesn't have it doesn't prevent the need to go to Photoshop. It doesn't prevent the need for me to green screen. Like, I have to do all of that. And the crazy part is Nebula would add more to that, because now, like, I told you this before, but if I have to, if the end result is that Chibimation fails and Gacha Life 2, Looney, I can never say his name. If Looney doesn't release the next patch, like, in the next 10 decades, then the last resort would be Gacha Club, right? So I wouldn't use Gacha Club, I would use this, because it's basically Gacha Club 2.0, basically, right? Like, it has extra stuff, but it has more. And I wanted it to be higher quality than Volume 3. So I would have to go in and make some additions, a little bit of adjustments. Like, I've gone in and made like a one-to-one recreation of William, but he's using the new Nebula eyes. And it's funny, I have seen gacha videos that have been using these eyes, and I didn't even notice until I looked at this video. Sorry, I looked at this game and I was like, wait a minute. There's even like certain eyes that I like, the pupils, not like the eye structure, the actual eye itself. I've seen, because there's a lot of variation. Like, if you go to the eyes, there's a bunch. I've seen, I think it's this one right here. No, I can't remember. I think it might be this one, I think. But I've seen them being used in videos that don't portray themselves using Gacha Nebula, though. I think the thing with younger people is that they're probably afraid of Looney, like, getting on their case and stuff like that, and probably, like, they don't want to be associated with the mod to hide the fact. They're probably active within the Gacha Discord, that sort of thing. They probably have their credentials on there, so they don't want to be, like, outed out as using a mod. I get that. That's fine. But, like, that would never happen. I mean, he has no right to do that. He can like take down these sorts of things because, like, he doesn't want mods on his platform, but he can't do anything to you using the mod. Difference. There's a different thing for that. But anyway, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. Yeah, so I would use this instead of, for Volume 4, if, like, the last resort, instead of Gacha Club, I'd use Gacha Nebula. I think, like, I don't know about poses. I think they're all just the same, right? I never actually looked. Yeah, it's all the same. Well, no, that's different. Why are they a different color? Oh, no, that is new. That's new, too. That is new. That's new. New. Not new. Not new. Not new. No, 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 no. These do seem new. These ones with the swords. This one might not be, but this one is. Like, the leg movement? I don't understand that. It says mod, but I don't believe that. I mean, maybe these ones, like the new. When I say not new, I don't mean it's not new. It's new to this. Like, Gacha Club probably doesn't have these. No, Gacha Club has that. I'm sorry. That's. I meant to say, like, new, like we've seen them before, like in Gacha Life or something. But yeah, no, I've definitely seen this one before. 100% I've seen it before. Anyway, that's it for this video. This video is like almost 2 hours long. And I hope you reach the end of this video. You know, ADHD is already kicking in. I don't know what to say. I don't know how XQC deals with it, man. Dude's a legend. But yeah. Hopefully you absorbed all that information, and for the person who does the stories, hopefully, you know, You'll probably go back. You'll probably have a curious thought. Probably go back and look just to see. I mean, hey, it is what it is, man. What it is. See ya.